I was lying in that hospital bed, cancer chewing through me, when the truth finally settled on my chest, heavier than the disease itself. The woman sleeping in my house hadn't just stolen the money meant to keep me alive. What she'd taken from my family, what she'd done years before I ever got sick, that was the real wound. The kind of wound that destroys a home long before anyone notices the bleeding. And I was too weak to stop her from doing it again. But before we get into all that pain, let me ask you something. If you've ever been lied to by someone you loved, someone you trusted with your whole heart, then you're going to feel every word of this story. Do me a favor, hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and drop a comment telling me what part of the world you're watching from. I need to know I'm not alone in this. I need to know somebody out there understands what it feels like when your whole world turns to ash in your hands. My name is Alexander Hayes. Folks call me Alex. I'm 73 years old now, but when this story begins, I was 52, living in Richmond, Virginia, with everything a man could want. A beautiful wife named Caroline. 2 grown children, my son Marcus, 23, and my daughter Naomi, 22. I had money in the bank, 3 successful construction businesses across the state, and a house that looked like something out of a magazine. I thought I had it all figured out. I thought I was blessed. I thought God was smiling down on me and my family. I was wrong about everything. Let me take you back to 2004. 20 years ago now, but I remember it like it was yesterday. Every detail, every moment, every smile that I didn't know would be one of the last. It was a Saturday morning in April. The dogwoods were blooming all over Richmond, white and pink petals everywhere you looked, and the sun was coming through our kitchen windows like liquid gold. I was sitting at our breakfast table with Caroline, my wife of 25 years. She was wearing this yellow sundress, her natural hair pulled back in a twist, and she was laughing at something our daughter Naomi had said. Naomi had just graduated from Howard University with a degree in architecture. She was home for the weekend, full of dreams about designing community centers and affordable housing. Marcus, my son, was finishing up his business degree at Virginia State. The boy had my head for numbers and his mother's heart for people. I was so proud of both of them I could barely stand it. "Daddy, you're not listening," Naomi said, snapping her fingers in front of my face. "I'm listening." "Baby girl," I said, grinning. "You were talking about the community center project in Southside." "That was 10 minutes ago," she said, shaking her head. "I'm talking about Marcus. He's been acting weird lately. Have you noticed?" I hadn't, if I'm being honest. I'd been so busy with work opening up a new office in Norfolk that I'd missed a lot of little things. That's something I regret now. You always think you'll have time to pay attention later. You think there'll always be another Saturday morning. "What kind of weird?" Caroline asked, her smile fading a little. "Just distant," Naomi said. "Like his mind is somewhere else, and he's been talking about taking a year off before starting his career. Just traveling or something." Caroline reached across the table and squeezed my hand. "He's young," she said. "Let him breathe a little. He'll find his way." That was Caroline, always seeing the best in people, always believing things would work out if you just gave them time and love. The doorbell rang, and Caroline jumped up. "That's Diana," she said, her face lighting up. I forgot she was coming by. Diana Freeman, my wife's best friend since they were 6 years old, growing up in the same neighborhood in Church Hill. They'd been through everything together: elementary school, teenage heartbreak, Caroline's mother's funeral. Diana was family, or so I thought. Diana came into the kitchen carrying a bottle of wine and a bright smile. She was a handsome woman, always put together, always dressed like she was going somewhere important, even when she was just running errands. She worked in real estate, did pretty well for herself, never married, no kids. Caroline used to worry about her being lonely. "Alex," Diana said, giving me a hug. "Look at you, sitting here like the king of the castle." "Just a man trying to enjoy his Saturday," I said. She hugged Naomi, complimented her dress, asked about her graduation. Everything seemed normal. Everything seemed fine. But looking back now, I can see it. The way Diana's eyes lingered on our house, the way she touched our things, the marble countertops, the custom cabinets I'd installed myself, the family photos on the walls, like she was measuring them, like she was imagining them as hers. Caroline and Diana sat on the back porch that afternoon, drinking wine and laughing about old times. I could hear them through the kitchen window while I was doing dishes. They were talking about their childhood, about the time they'd snuck into an R-rated movie and got caught, about the boys they liked in high school. "You got the fairy tale," I heard Diana say. Her voice was softer, different. "You got everything." "Girl, you'll find your person," Caroline said. "You've got so much to offer. The right man just hasn't recognized it yet." There was a long silence. Then Diana said something I didn't quite catch, but Caroline laughed, so I figured it was fine. That night, after Diana left and Naomi went out with friends, Caroline and I sat in our bedroom. She was at her vanity, taking off her jewelry, and I was sitting on the edge of our bed, watching her. She caught my eye in the mirror and smiled. "What are you looking at, old man?" she said. "My wife," I said. "Still the most beautiful woman I've ever seen." She turned around, walked over to me, and kissed me soft and slow. "We're blessed, aren't we?" she said. "To have all this. To have each other." "Yeah," I said. "We are." 3 weeks later, she was dead. It was a Tuesday, May 11, 2004. I remember because it was the day after Mother's Day, and Caroline had been so happy the day before. We'd taken her to lunch at her favorite restaurant, bought her flowers, spent the whole day together as a family. I was at the Norfolk office that Tuesday, meeting with contractors about a new shopping center project. My phone rang around 2:30 in the afternoon. It was Marcus, and his voice was wrong. All wrong. "Dad," he said, and I knew. Before he said another word, I knew something terrible had happened. You ever have that moment where time stops, where your heart knows before your mind catches up? "What happened?" I said. "It's Mom," he said, and his voice broke. "Dad, you need to come home, right now." I don't remember the drive back to Richmond. I don't remember getting in my truck or what roads I took or if I stopped at red lights. I just remember pulling up to my house and seeing police cars everywhere, red and blue lights spinning, neighbors standing in their yards, yellow tape across my front door. A police officer stopped me as I tried to run inside. "Sir, you can't." "That's my house," I shouted. "That's my wife." They took me to a police car, made me sit down. A detective came over. She was a black woman, maybe 40, with kind eyes that had seen too much. "Mr. Hayes," she said, "I'm Detective Morrison. I'm so sorry, but your wife is deceased." The world tilted. I couldn't breathe. "What happened? Was it a car accident? A break-in?" Detective Morrison sat down next to me. "We found her in your bedroom. She died from a gunshot wound to the head. Your son found her when he came home from class." "Someone killed her?" I said. My voice didn't sound like mine. "Someone came into my house and killed my wife?" The detective paused. "We're still investigating, but right now the evidence suggests it was self-inflicted." I stared at her. "What?" The gun was in her hand. There was no sign of forced entry, no sign of a struggle. "No," I said. "No, you're wrong. Caroline she would never." But the detective was already talking about procedures and investigations and asking me questions I couldn't answer. Did my wife seem depressed? Had she talked about hurting herself? Were there problems in our marriage? "No," I kept saying. "No, no, no." They let me see her body 3 hours later. At the morgue, she was on a metal table covered with a white sheet. They pulled it back and there was my Caroline, my beautiful wife. Half her face was, I can't describe it. I won't. But I threw up right there in the morgue bathroom and sobbed until I couldn't make sounds anymore. Marcus and Naomi came to the morgue. We held each other and cried. My son couldn't stop shaking. My daughter kept saying, "Why would she do this? Why would she leave us?" I couldn't answer her because I didn't believe it. Caroline wasn't depressed. Caroline loved life. She loved us. She was planting a garden in the backyard. She was talking about taking a trip to Ghana next year. You don't make plans like that if you're planning to die. But the evidence said otherwise. The gun was registered to me, kept in my bedside drawer. Her fingerprints were on it. There was no note, but the police said that was common. They said sometimes people just make a decision in a moment and there's no warning. The funeral was the following Saturday. Hundreds of people came. Her family, our friends, people from church, business associates. Diana was there, crying harder than anyone except maybe me and my kids. She sat in the front row with us, held my hand during the service, helped Naomi with the program. "I can't believe she's gone," Diana kept saying. She was my sister, my best friend since we were little girls. After the burial, after everyone left, after the house got quiet, I sat in my bedroom and stared at the spot where they'd found her body. They'd cleaned it up, but I could still see it. In my mind, I'll always see it. I thought I had time. Turns out, time had me. The weeks after Caroline's death were a blur of grief and confusion. I couldn't work. I couldn't eat. I couldn't sleep in our bedroom anymore. I moved into the guest room and left everything in our room exactly as Caroline had left it. Her lotion on the nightstand, her robe on the bathroom door, her pillow still smelling like her coconut oil and lavender. Marcus went back to school but quit 3 weeks later. He said he couldn't focus, couldn't pretend everything was normal. He moved back home and spent most of his time in his childhood bedroom with the door closed. Naomi tried to be strong. She went back to work at an architecture firm in D.C., but she called me every night crying. "I keep expecting her to call," she'd say. "I keep thinking she's going to call and tell me about her day." Diana started coming by the house every day. At first, I thought she was just being a good friend, helping us through the grief. She'd bring food, make sure we were eating, sit with me and talk about Caroline. We'd look at old photos and share memories. "Remember when we were 14 and snuck into that Earth, Wind and Fire concert?" Diana said one evening. We were sitting in my living room, looking through an old photo album. Caroline was so scared we'd get caught, but she was also so excited. That's how she was about everything, cautious but brave. "Yeah," I said, staring at a picture of Caroline from our wedding day. She was the bravest person I knew. Diana put her hand on my arm. "You were good to her, Alex. You gave her a beautiful life." I started crying then, just broke down, and Diana held me while I sobbed. It felt good to have someone there who understood, someone who'd known Caroline as long as I had. Over the next few months, Diana became a constant presence in our lives. She'd come by after work, help with cooking and cleaning, make sure the bills were getting paid. I was grateful. I was drowning, and she was throwing me a rope. But there were little things I noticed but didn't want to think too hard about. The way she started dressing differently when she came to our house, more casual, more comfortable, like she lived there. The way she'd touch my shoulder or my hand a little longer than necessary. The way she'd talk about Caroline in past tense so easily, like she'd already moved on. "Caroline would want you to be happy," she said one night. We were sitting on the back porch, the same place where she and Caroline had sat just months before. "She wouldn't want you to stop living." "I know," I said, "but I don't know how to do that without her." "You don't have to do it alone," Diana said, and something in her voice made me look at her. Really look at her. She was staring at me with an intensity I'd never seen before. Like she was trying to tell me something without saying it. I looked away. "I should get to bed," I said. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about Diana's expression, her words, and I felt guilty for even wondering if there was something more behind them. This was Caroline's best friend. She was just being supportive, but doubt had crept in, and once doubt gets in, it spreads like mold. Christmas came and went. The first Christmas without Caroline. It was torture. Naomi came home from D.C., and we tried to pretend it was okay, but our house felt like a museum. Everything was there, but nothing was alive. Diana spent Christmas Eve with us. She brought gifts for Marcus and Naomi, helped cook dinner, tried to make everything feel normal. She was trying so hard. Too hard, maybe. After dinner, after the kids went to bed, Diana and I were cleaning up the kitchen together. She was washing dishes, and I was drying, and she started talking about her childhood Christmases with Caroline. "We used to make these elaborate gingerbread houses," she said, laughing softly. "Caroline was always so precise, making sure every little detail was perfect. Mine would fall apart, and she'd fix it for me. She was always fixing things for me." "She had a gift for that," I said. Diana stopped washing and turned to me. Her eyes were wet with tears. "I miss her so much, Alex. Some days I wake up and forget she's gone, and then I remember, and it's like losing her all over again." "I know," I said. "I know exactly what you mean." She moved closer, put her hand on my chest. "We're the only ones who really understand," she said. We both loved her more than anyone else in the world. I should have stepped back. I should have seen what was happening. But I was lonely and broken and desperate for someone to understand my pain. So when Diana hugged me, I hugged her back. And when the hug lasted too long, I didn't pull away as fast as I should have. Looking back, that was the moment. That was when the trap was set, and I walked right into it. By the spring of 2005, a year after Caroline's death, Diana had become part of our daily routine. She had a key to the house. She knew where everything was. She'd started redecorating small things, new curtains in the living room, different flowers in the vases, a new coffee maker in the kitchen. Just trying to freshen things up, she'd say, help you move forward. Marcus seemed to like having her around. She'd talk to him about his future, encourage him to go back to school or start a business. She was good with him, patient, understanding. Naomi was more hesitant. I caught her watching Diana sometimes with this look I couldn't quite read. One weekend when Naomi was home from D.C., she pulled me aside. Dad, can I talk to you about something? Of course, baby girl. We sat in the den, and Naomi looked uncomfortable. She kept twisting her hands in her lap. It's about Diana, she said finally. My stomach tightened. What about her? Don't you think she's around a lot? Like, a lot. She's helping us through a hard time, I said. She loved your mother. I know, but Naomi struggled to find words. It feels like she's trying to replace Mom. New curtains, new dishes. She's even wearing Mom's apron when she cooks. I hadn't noticed the apron. Now that Naomi mentioned it, I felt sick. I'll talk to her, I said. No, Dad, that's not. Naomi sighed. Never mind. I'm probably just being sensitive. But she wasn't. She was seeing what I was too afraid to see. That summer, Diana asked me to go to dinner with her. Just as friends, she said. Get out of this house for a few hours. Remember what the outside world looks like. We went to a nice Italian place downtown. She wore a red dress, had her hair done, looked beautiful, and I felt guilty for noticing. Over wine and pasta, she talked about her life, her loneliness, how hard it was to watch everyone else have families while she went home to an empty house every night. I used to be jealous of Caroline, she said suddenly. Is that terrible to admit? Jealous of what? I asked. Everything. Her marriage, her children, her life. Diana looked down at her wine glass. I loved her so much, but sometimes I'd come to your house and I'd think, why does she get all of this and I get nothing? I didn't know what to say. I'm sorry, she said quickly. That's awful. I shouldn't have said that. It's okay to be human, I said. We all have complicated feelings. She reached across the table and took my hand. You're a good man, Alex Hayes. Caroline was lucky to have you. I should have pulled my hand away. I didn't. 3 months later, I asked Diana to marry me. I know what you're thinking. How could I do that? How could I betray Caroline's memory like that? But you have to understand, I was broken. I was so lonely I couldn't stand being in my own skin. And Diana understood my pain in a way nobody else could because she'd known Caroline her whole life. Marcus was supportive. If she makes you happy, Dad, then I'm happy, he said. Naomi was quiet when I told her. She hugged me and said congratulations, but her eyes said something different. I didn't want to see it, so I looked away. We got married in October 2005, a small ceremony at the courthouse, just family. No big celebration. It didn't feel right to celebrate so soon after Caroline. Diana moved into the house the next day. That first night as husband and wife, I lay in bed next to her in what used to be me in Caroline's bedroom, and I felt like a stranger in my own life. Diana curled up against me and whispered, "We're going to be happy, I promise." But I didn't feel happy. I felt like I'd made a terrible mistake. I just didn't know how terrible. Not yet. 2 years passed. 2006, 2007. Diana and I settled into a routine that looked like a marriage but felt like something else, something hollow. We ate dinner together. We attended family functions. We slept in the same bed. But there was no real intimacy. No deep connection. I buried myself in work. Opened 2 more offices in Virginia Beach and Charlottesville. Stayed busy so I wouldn't have to think about how wrong everything felt. Marcus graduated from Virginia State in 2006 and came to work for me in the business. The boy was sharp, good with clients, understood construction and finance. I was grooming him to take over one day. Naomi was doing well in D.C., working on big projects, making a name for herself. but she visited less and less. When I asked her why, she said she was busy. But I knew. She didn't like being in the house with Diana. Then, in March of 2008, everything changed again. I'd been feeling tired for months. More than tired, exhausted in a way I'd never felt before, and I'd lost weight without trying. Diana noticed first. "You need to see a doctor," she said. "You look terrible." I went to my doctor, thinking it was probably stress or age or just working too hard. He ran some tests, then more tests. Then he sent me to an oncologist. Stage 3 pancreatic cancer. The doctor's words didn't make sense at first. Cancer? I'd always been healthy. I didn't smoke. I exercised. How could I have cancer? "It's aggressive," the oncologist said. She was a small Indian woman with a gentle voice and serious eyes. "We can try chemotherapy, but pancreatic cancer at this stage, the 5-year survival rate is very low." "How low?" I asked. "Less than 10%. I sat in that doctor's office, and I thought about Caroline. I thought about how she died suddenly without warning, and I wondered if this was better or worse, having time to prepare for death, watching it come for you in slow motion. I told Diana that evening. We were in the kitchen, and she was making dinner. When I said the word cancer, she dropped the knife she was holding. It clattered on the cutting board. "What kind?" she asked. "Pancreatic." Her face went pale. Even she knew what that meant. "We'll fight this," she said. "We'll get the best doctors. We'll do whatever it takes." But her eyes told a different story. Her eyes looked distant, calculating. I started chemotherapy the next week. It was brutal. I'd throw up for hours, couldn't eat, couldn't sleep, lost my hair, lost more weight. I looked like a skeleton wrapped in skin. And Diana changed. At first, she was attentive. She'd drive me to appointments, sit with me during treatments, bring me soup. But gradually, over the months, she became less present. She'd drop me off at chemo and disappear for hours. She'd forget to fill my prescriptions. She'd make dinner for herself and Marcus, but forget about me. "I thought you weren't hungry," she'd say when I asked. Marcus started spending more time with Diana. They'd watch movies together late at night. They'd go out to lunch without inviting me. They'd laugh at inside jokes I didn't understand. At first, I thought I was being paranoid. The cancer and the chemo were messing with my head, making me suspicious for no reason. But then I noticed other things. The way Diana touched Marcus's arm when she talked to him. The way she'd lean close to him, invade his personal space. The way she'd compliment him constantly. His looks, his intelligence, his charm. And Marcus didn't seem uncomfortable. He seemed to like it. Naomi came home one weekend in August and immediately noticed something was wrong. "Dad, you look terrible," she said. "Are you eating?" "I try," I said. "The chemo makes everything taste like metal." She went into the kitchen and came back looking angry. "There's no food in this house. Nothing you can actually eat." "Where's Diana?" "Out with Marcus." "Out where?" "I don't know. Shopping, I think." Naomi pulled out her phone and called her brother. I could hear Marcus's voice through the speaker, defensive and irritated. "Why are you checking up on me?" he said. "I'm not checking up on you. I'm checking up on Dad. He's here alone and sick, and there's no food in the house. Diana's handling all that. Diana's handling it so well that Dad looks like he's dying," Naomi snapped. There was silence. Then Marcus said, "We're at the spa. We'll be back in a few hours." "The spa?" Naomi said. "The spa?" She hung up and stared at me with tears in her eyes. "Dad, what's going on?" "I don't know, baby girl," I said. And I meant it. I truly didn't know, but I was starting to suspect something dark. Something I didn't want to believe. In September of 2008, my health insurance company sent a check to cover part of my cancer treatment costs. $18,000. It came on a Thursday afternoon, delivered right to our mailbox. I was too weak to walk to the mailbox myself, so Diana got the mail. She brought me the check along with some bills and catalogs. "This is good news," she said, looking at the check. "This will help with the medical bills." "Yeah," I said. I was lying on the couch, too exhausted to sit up. "Can you deposit it tomorrow? I have another treatment next week." "Of course," she said, but she didn't deposit it. That Friday, Diana and Marcus told me they were going on a weekend trip. "A trip?" I said. "I have treatment on Monday." "Naomi said she'd come down and take you," Diana said. "We just need a break, Alex. This has been hard on everyone." I wanted to argue, but I was too tired, too sick. "Fine," I said. They left that afternoon. Diana kissed me on the forehead like I was a child, and Marcus barely looked at me as they walked out the door. Naomi arrived on Saturday, and she was furious. "Where did they go?" she asked. "Some spa retreat in the mountains, I think." "A spa retreat? Dad, you can barely get off the couch, and they went to a spa retreat?" She started going through the bills on the kitchen counter, and that's when she found the bank statement. She went very still. "Dad," she said slowly, "that insurance check, did Diana deposit it?" "She was supposed to." Naomi held up the statement. "It's not here. The deposit isn't showing up." My stomach dropped. Maybe she hasn't gotten to the bank yet. But I knew. In my gut, I knew. Naomi called Diana. No answer. She called Marcus. No answer. She left voicemail after voicemail, each one angrier than the last. They came back late Sunday night. Diana was glowing, relaxed, her skin clear and her hair done. Marcus looked happy in a way I hadn't seen in years. They were laughing as they came through the door, carrying shopping bags. Naomi was waiting in the living room. I was there too, sitting in my recliner, hooked up to my portable oxygen tank. "Did you two have a nice time?" Naomi asked. Her voice was ice. "It was wonderful," Diana said, not picking up on the tension. "Just what we needed." "And how did you pay for this wonderful spa retreat?" Naomi asked. Diana's smile faltered. "What?" "The insurance check for Dad's cancer treatment, the one that was supposed to cover his next round of chemo." "Where is it?" Diana's face changed. She looked at Marcus. He looked at the floor. "I can explain," Diana said. "Please do," Naomi said. "Please explain how you took money meant for our dying father's cancer treatment and spent it on massages and champagne." "It wasn't like that," Marcus said. Diana said what?" Naomi shouted. "Diana said it was okay to let your father suffer while you two played house at a resort." I felt something break inside me. My son, my boy. He looked at me dying and chose comfort over compassion. "Marcus," I said, and my voice came out like a whisper, "how could you?" He finally looked at me, and I saw something in his eyes I'd never seen before. Guilt, shame, but also defiance. "You're going to die anyway," he said. "Diana said the survival rate is almost 0. Why waste money on treatments that won't work?" The room went silent. "Get out," Naomi said. "What?" Marcus said. "Get out of this house, right now." "You can't kick me out," Marcus said. "This is my home too." "Not anymore, it's not," Naomi said. She turned to Diana. "And you evil manipulative. Watch yourself," Diana said, and her voice had changed. No more sweetness. No more fake concern. This was her real voice. Cold, sharp. "I'm his wife. I have every right to be here." "You have no rights," Naomi said. "You're nothing but a vulture." Diana smiled then. Actually smiled. "Your father married me. He chose me. And when he dies, everything he has becomes mine, including this house, including his business. So unless you want to end up on the street, I suggest you watch your tone." I stared at this woman I'd married, this woman I'd brought into my home, and I finally saw her. Really saw her. Not Caroline's grieving best friend, not my companion in loneliness, but a predator, a snake that had been coiling around my family for years, waiting for the right moment to strike. "The will," I said. My voice was weak, but everyone heard me. "The will leaves 90% to Marcus. You get the house and 10% of the business." Diana's smile didn't fade. Wills can be changed, especially when someone's not in their right mind. Cancer does terrible things to the brain. Alex makes people confused, paranoid. She was threatening me, in my own house, while I was dying. "Get out," I said. "Both of you, get out of my sight." Diana collected her purse. Marcus followed her like a puppy. At the door, she turned back. "This isn't over," she said, "not by a long shot." After they left, I broke down, sobbed like a child while Naomi held me. "I'm going to fix this," she said. "I promise you, Dad, I'm going to fix this." But I didn't see how. I was dying. My son had betrayed me, and the woman who was supposed to love me was circling like a shark. I didn't tell anyone this until now, but that night, I prayed for the first time since Caroline died. I prayed for justice. I prayed for truth. I prayed for one more chance to protect my children. Sometimes God answers prayers, but not always in the way you expect. After that terrible night, things in my house became a cold war. Diana and Marcus moved into a hotel for a few days, but they came back because legally, Diana was still my wife, and Marcus was still my son. I couldn't just kick them out, but I could protect myself. The day after they returned, while they were both out, Naomi helped me change the locks on my bedroom door. We moved all my important documents inside: birth certificates, titles, bank information, and my will. Then we called my lawyer. His name was Bernard Thompson, and he'd been handling my business affairs for 20 years. When I told him what happened, he didn't sound surprised. "Alex, I've seen this before," he said. "People show their true colors when money's involved. We need to act fast. If you die without protection in place, Diana will contest the will and make your children's lives hell." "What can we do?" I asked. "Several things. First, we're going to establish your mental competency with medical documentation. Second, we're going to create a trust that's ironclad. Third, we're going to limit Diana's access to your accounts immediately." We did all of that within a week. I liquidated some assets and paid for my cancer treatments up front, moved money into accounts Diana couldn't touch, made sure Marcus and Naomi were protected. Diana was furious when she found out. She tried to act calm, but I could see the rage behind her eyes. "You're being paranoid," she said. "I'm your wife. I'm trying to help you." "Like you helped me with the insurance check?" I said. She didn't have an answer for that. Marcus barely spoke to me anymore. He'd spend all his time with Diana, whispering in corners, making plans I couldn't hear, looking at me like I was already dead. It hurt more than the cancer. But Naomi was my warrior. She took family leave from her job in D.C. and moved back home to take care of me. She cooked meals I could actually eat. She drove me to treatments. She sat with me during the long nights when the pain was so bad I wanted to die. "I'm sorry you have to see me like this," I told her one night. "Stop," she said. "You're my father. This is where I'm supposed to be." One afternoon in late October, about a month after the insurance check incident, Naomi came into my room looking agitated. "Dad, I need to tell you something." "What is it, baby girl?" "I've been thinking about Mom, about how she died." My chest tightened. "Naomi, the suicide never made sense to me," she said. "Mom wasn't depressed. She was planning things. She was happy, and she hated guns. Remember how she wouldn't even go to the shooting range with you?" I did remember. Caroline thought guns were too dangerous, wouldn't touch them. "What are you saying?" I asked. "I'm saying, what if it wasn't suicide?" Naomi said. "What if someone wanted us to think it was?" The thought had occurred to me over the years, but I'd pushed it away. It was too painful, too impossible. "Who would want to hurt your mother?" I asked. Naomi looked at me with tears in her eyes. "Someone who was jealous of her, someone who wanted what she had." Diana. The name hung in the air between us, unspoken but loud as thunder. "That's a serious accusation. We can't just—" "I know," Naomi said. "That's why I hired a private investigator 3 weeks ago. Dad, I'm sorry I didn't tell you, but I needed to be sure before I said anything." My heart was racing. "What did they find?" "They're still investigating, but they found something interesting. The gun that killed Mom, it was clean. Too clean. When someone shoots themselves, there's gunpowder residue on their hands. Mom had some residue, but not nearly as much as there should have been. And her fingerprints on the gun were only on the grip, nowhere else. Like someone placed the gun in her hand after." I felt sick. Why did the police catch this? They did note it in the report, but they chalked it up to inconsistencies that sometimes happen. They were so sure it was suicide that they didn't look deeper. "So what now?" I asked. "Now we wait," Naomi said. "The investigator is trying to find out if anyone saw Diana that day. If there's any evidence she was at the house." I couldn't breathe. My wife had known something was wrong. She'd felt it. And she'd let Diana into the house anyway, because that's who Caroline was. Trusting, loving, always believing the best in people. "This proves Diana was in the house," Naomi said. "This proves Mom was expecting her that day." "It's still not enough for a murder conviction," I said. "But it's something. It's a piece." Patricia and Detective Morrison were more optimistic. "This changes things," Morrison said. "This gives us probable cause to reopen the investigation. We can get a warrant for Diana's home, her car, her bank records. If there's any physical evidence, we'll find it." They moved fast. Within 2 days, they had warrants. They searched Diana's apartment, the one she'd kept even after marrying me. They went through everything, and they found it. In a storage unit Diana had been renting for 4 years. In a box marked "Memories," wrapped in an old t-shirt, the cloth Diana had used to muffle the gunshot. It still had gunpowder residue. It still had microscopic traces of Caroline's blood. Diana had kept it, like a reminder of what she'd done. When I heard the news, I wept, not tears of sadness, tears of relief, of vindication, of justice finally coming. They arrested Diana on December 18th, 2008. I was in the hospital for a chemo treatment when it happened. Naomi called me, crying and laughing at the same time. They got her, Dad. They finally got her. Marcus called me an hour later. He was crying too, but his tears were different. They were tears of shame. Dad, I'm so sorry, he said. I'm so sorry. I didn't know. I swear I didn't know what she'd done. I know, son, I said, though I wasn't sure I believed him. I know. She manipulated me, Marcus said. She told me you were going to die anyway. She told me I deserved to enjoy life before that happened. She got in my head, Dad. She made me think. I understand, I said. And I did. Diana was a predator. She knew how to find weaknesses and exploit them. My son's weakness was his grief, his fear of losing another parent, his desire for someone to tell him everything would be okay. Diana had used that against him. Can you forgive me? Marcus asked. I was quiet for a long time. The truth is, I didn't know if I could forgive him. He betrayed me when I was at my lowest. He'd chosen comfort over compassion. But he was my son, my blood. We'll work on it, I said. After I deal with this cancer, after the trial, we'll work on it. Okay, he said. Okay. The trial happened fast. Diana's lawyers tried to get the evidence thrown out, tried to claim the cloth could have been contaminated, tried everything they could think of. But forensics don't lie. DNA doesn't lie. Caroline's blood was on that cloth, along with gunpowder residue that matched the gun used to kill her. Combined with the phone records, the traffic camera footage, Diana's car in our driveway, and the journal entry establishing Diana was supposed to be at the house, the prosecution built an airtight case. Diana's motive was obvious. She wanted Caroline's life. She'd been jealous for decades, and when that jealousy finally boiled over, she'd acted. The jury deliberated for 3 hours, guilty of first-degree murder. I was there when they read the verdict. I was in a wheelchair by then, oxygen tank beside me, barely strong enough to sit up, but I was there. Diana looked at me across the courtroom, and for the first time since I'd known her, I saw her real face. Not the mask of friendship, not the performance of love, but the truth. She was hollow, empty, a black hole disguised as a person. The judge sentenced her to life in prison without the possibility of parole. As they took her away, she didn't look back. I'm not going to lie to you and say there was a miracle. I didn't beat the cancer. The treatments bought me some time, but the disease was too aggressive. I had 9 more months after Diana's conviction. 9 months to try to rebuild what she destroyed. Marcus and I went to therapy together. It was hard. There were sessions where we both cried, sessions where we both got angry. But slowly, we found our way back to each other. I was weak, Marcus told me one afternoon. We were sitting on the back porch watching the sun set over Richmond. I let her convince me that you didn't matter anymore, that because you were dying, I should focus on myself. You're human, I said. Humans make mistakes. It was more than a mistake, Dad. I abandoned you. I let her steal money meant for your treatment so I could get a massage. I reached over and took his hand. I forgive you, son. Not because what you did was okay, but because you're my boy and life's too short to die angry. He sobbed then, put his head on my shoulder like he used to do when he was little, and we both cried. Naomi was my rock through everything. She never left my side. She was there for every treatment, every bad day, every moment when I thought I couldn't go on. You're the strongest person I know. I told her one night. I learned from the best, she said. You and Mom, you both taught me never to give up, never to stop fighting for what's right. In June of 2009, I went into hospice care. The cancer had spread everywhere. The doctors said it was weeks, maybe days. I made my peace with death. I'd done what I needed to do. I'd gotten justice for Caroline. I'd protected my children. I'd made things right as much as I could. On July 2nd, 2009, surrounded by Marcus and Naomi, I closed my eyes for the last time. But before I did, I saw something. Maybe it was the morphine. Maybe it was my dying brain. Or maybe it was real. I saw Caroline, standing at the foot of my bed, wearing that yellow sundress, smiling at me the way she used to smile. It's time, Alex, she said. I'm sorry I married her, I said. I'm sorry I let her into our home. You didn't know, Caroline said. You were human. You made human mistakes. I missed you every day, I said. I know, she said. I was always with you, watching over our babies, making sure they'd be okay. Are they going to be okay? I asked. They're going to be better than okay, Caroline said. Naomi's going to design buildings that change lives. Marcus is going to learn from his mistakes and become a good man. They're going to heal. They're going to thrive. And us? I asked. She held out her hand. We get to dance again. I took her hand and the pain disappeared. The cancer disappeared. I was young again, strong again, whole. We danced there in the light, my wife and I, and it was like no time had passed at all. That's my story. A lot of you watching this from around the world, from Lagos to London, from Manila to Miami, you've probably experienced betrayal. Maybe not like this, maybe not this dark, but you felt that knife in your back. You've trusted the wrong person. You've opened your home to someone who wanted to take everything from you. I want you to know something. It's not your fault. Evil people are good at pretending. They study you. They learn what you need, and then they give you just enough to keep you hooked while they plan your destruction. But I also want you to know this. Justice is possible. Truth will come out. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but eventually the light finds the darkness and burns it away. Don't give up. Keep fighting. Keep searching for the truth. And most importantly, pay attention. When someone shows you who they really are, believe them the first time. My daughter Naomi runs my construction business now. She's built it into something even bigger than I dreamed. She designs buildings for low-income communities, gives people jobs, changes lives. My son Marcus works for a nonprofit now, helping families who've lost loved ones to violence. He's dedicated his life to making sure other people don't suffer the way we did. He's found his redemption in service. Diana Freeman died in prison in 2018. Heart attack. She was 61 years old. I don't celebrate her death, but I don't mourn it either. Some people are just poison, and the world is better when that poison is contained. Me? I got my 9 months. 9 months to love my children. 9 months to see justice done. 9 months to make peace with my life and my death. That's more than a lot of people get. I thought I had time. Turns out, time had me. But in the end, I used that time right. And that's all any of us can do. Comment below and tell me, what part of the world are you watching from? Have you ever trusted someone you shouldn't have? How did you find out the truth? Don't just watch. Engage. Connect. Let me know I wasn't alone in this, because that's what stories are for. To remind us that we're all connected, that we all feel the same pain, the same hope, the same hunger for justice. Thank you for listening to an old man's story. Thank you for bearing witness to my pain and my peace. That was the day I realized peace don't come cheap, but it's worth every penny.